Hi, and welcome to LinkedIn for Entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Julia Zata, a LinkedIn strategist and ghostwriter, and lover of all things practical when it comes to visibility strategies. This podcast is for service-based business owners who want to build their brand on LinkedIn, attract new clients, collaborators, and speaking engagements without overthinking every post or sounding like a corporate robot. And yes, we're going to keep it actionable and fun. Let's dive in. Hey, does your feed look like a weird time loop showing posts from 2 to 3 weeks ago from the same 5 people? You're not alone. I've been getting questions from clients, from people in my network, and everybody wants to know what the F is going on with the LinkedIn algorithm. So in this episode, we're digging into what's changed, why it matters, and what we can do about it. But first, just a quick disclaimer. I am not a LinkedIn engineer. I do not have any insights into the algorithm. And LinkedIn doesn't explain how the algorithm works. So I've pulled insights from trusted sources like Richard Vanderblom, Hootsuite, and Ivana Todorovich. So I'll explain what they're saying based on the data that they have available. And I'll share my thoughts on what it means for creators and service providers like us. So let's start with the obvious problem. Something's changed in the last year. The reach on our personal posts has dropped off a cliff. Our content is getting so much less reach than it used to. And in our feeds, we're seeing a lot less content variety and more old posts from the same people. We're also seeing more sponsored posts. So there is a new feature on LinkedIn since last year, which is thought leadership ads and sponsored posts. So if you're doing a paid collaboration with a brand, that shows up as a sponsored post. These are paid by a company page, but what's being pushed out is content created by an individual. And the reason for that is clear. Nobody likes to engage in company page content. People like to engage with people, and so LinkedIn has now made it easier for company pages to boost posts that have been created by people as ads. And so obviously those new types of paid posts reduce the amount of space left in the feed for organic posts. And on top of it, with the algorithm changing from a chronological feed to an interest-based feed, everything is very different. So let's look at the data that I've collected through a little bit of research. Richard Vanderblom releases a LinkedIn algorithm report every year. That's what he's known for. And so in his latest report, some of the findings that he shared recently are things like this. Organic reach is down 50% or more since last year, depending on your niche. He says that the algorithm used to prioritize variety, so content by different creators, whereas now the algorithm is showing multiple posts from the same person, even posts from 2 to 3 weeks ago or more. And we're also seeing more sponsored posts and suggested content, which crowd out the organic posts. And so he says that growth now on LinkedIn has slowed down a lot compared to previous years, and that the rise of thought leadership ads, sponsored posts, suggested posts, and the move to interest-based, the algorithm wanting to show us like interest-based content is driving these changes. And so one of the tips that he gives, he says that we are being locked into an echo chamber by the algorithm, and so it's very important to engage with people outside of our network to make sure that we are reaching new people and being seen by new people. So he talks about engaging strategically, thinking about the decision makers we're trying to reach and how to show up either by commenting on their content or by commenting on posts that they are likely to consume. So very strategic type of engagement to break out of this kind of prison that the algorithm is keeping us in. The second data point that I found is Hootsuite's July breakdown of the LinkedIn algorithm. They posted an article that goes in depth about what the LinkedIn algorithm wants from us right now. And so what Hootsuite says is that LinkedIn is prioritizing expert-led content, so content that's useful and engaging that helps people grow professionally, because LinkedIn's values have been and are to help people grow professionally, and so it prioritizes niche expert-led content. And what Hootsuite also says is that the algorithm is filtering out spammy behavior, so posts that aren't relevant or that are tagging too many people or that are posting too too frequently or that are low value content. So content that's not useful from an educational and expert-led perspective. And so what it's saying is that LinkedIn prioritizes content that reflects individual interests and that sparks meaningful conversations on a topic that the creator is an expert in. So based on what your LinkedIn profile says, based on your connections and your network and your content, if it's all cohesive, so if your profile, your content, and your network point to you being an expert in a certain industry or in a certain niche, then it's more likely to prioritize it, as long as your content is getting comments that are thoughtful and show that the people who are commenting are really interested in what you have to say. And so moving on to what content should we post now? What content is performing now on LinkedIn? I'm going to cite what Ivana Todorovic is sharing. So Ivana Todorovic is the founder of Authored Up. Authored Up is an app specifically made for creating content on LinkedIn, which also has really good analytics. And so she pulls from the analytics of Authored Up's users to draw conclusions about the algorithm. And in fact, she is one of the people that collaborates with Richard Vanderblom in his Algorithm Insights report. But what Ivana says is that LinkedIn is now prioritizing content that gets saved. In a recent post, she talks about how she analyzed 114,000 saved posts to find the characteristics they have in common. So as far as reach, she says that one save gets you 5 times more reach than a like. She also says that one save is equal twice the impact of a meaningful comment, and that saved posts lead to 130% higher chance of someone following you, and that creators with more saved posts grow 3 times faster. So this is very interesting data because it at least gives us some insights as to, okay, so what kind of content should we be creating? You know, what gets saved? And so Ivana breaks this down further. She says that the type of content that gets saved are step-by-step tutorials about how to do something in a way that delivers a quick win. So it's something people can implement. And of course, if you see something like this on your feed and you want to implement it later, you are going to save it so you can refer to it later. The second type of content she says gets saved is belief shifting content. So posts that reframe how we think about something, that give us an aha moment, that gives us more depth and more insight into a situation that we're struggling with. The third type of content that gets saved is behind the scenes processes. So again, a step-by-step of how you work and not just the outcome. So people like to see our thought process, our methodology. They want to learn from us based on our experience and expertise. So showing our behind the scenes process in a way that people can replicate it is content that gets saved. And lastly, the content that she says gets saved are visuals like infographics and cheat sheets, things that condense a lot of information and break it down so it's visually easier to digest. And apart from posting these insights on her LinkedIn feed, her company has also started an email newsletter that you can subscribe to get more in-depth reports, which is where I got this from. She's got 2 email newsletters out, and so this information comes from her second email newsletter. I'll put links in the show notes to all the people that I cited so you can follow them on LinkedIn and subscribe to their newsletters if you're interested. But so to wrap up, what are we saying today about the algorithm? It has changed again. We've noticed, apart from organic reach going down, the feed is more crowded with ads and suggested content because the algorithm is now trying to guess at what our interests are and to put it in front of us. But it's not all bad news. The algorithm also rewards content that's useful and that's helpful and that is original content, clearly, not reposts or reshares. And so if you want your content to go further, aim for posts people would want to save, something that's useful, something they can implement and they're going to want to save and come back to later. And if you're feeling stuck, do what Richard Vanderblom advises, which is start to engage outside your usual bubble. And if you're looking for ways to do that, more specifically, you should refer back to episodes 6 and 7 of this podcast, where I teach you engagement strategies, which walks you through exactly how to go outside of your connections and find new people to engage with. I hope you found today's episode useful. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'm always curious to know what my podcast listeners think and how these episodes are landing for them. So please feel free to shoot me a DM on LinkedIn. My DMs are always open to you, so reach out and come and say hi. And if you like what you're hearing and want more touch points from me, you should subscribe to my email newsletter. You will find the link to sign up in the comments if you'd like to join. All right, so take care, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for tuning in to LinkedIn for Entrepreneurs. If you found this episode helpful, please share it on LinkedIn or on your favorite social media platform. And if you really want to make my day, leave me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It helps more business owners find this show. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.